The Seminoles look to get back on track on Saturday against Northern Illinois inside Doak Campbell Stadium, 3:30 on ESPNU. Nole Insiders Lane Hurt and Tim Linnefelt here with your game preview. Tim, you can't argue Syracuse, that was about as tough as it gets, the game against the Orange. Coach Taggart, Coach Bell, the offense talked all week about going back to the drawing board, making changes, going to do whatever it takes to get things to work. What do you expect to see from the offense? What changes or improvements do you think we might see on the field on Saturday?
Well, like you said, the offense, I think, is turning over rocks, trying to find something that'll work. Walt Bell said earlier this week, if they have to break out the wishbone, the old Texas Darrell Royal style, that's what they'll do. I don't think that's first on his to-do list this week. But, I think there are probably a few little things you can do. Willie Taggart mentioned both after the Syracuse game and also in his press conference on Monday, the idea of maybe slowing down the tempo a little bit. Obviously, that's not what they want to do long term, but if it means getting everybody lined up cleanly, avoiding some of those procedural penalties, that's a good thing. We've seen Florida State have some pretty big games over the last couple of weeks that are wiped out by those types of penalty flags. If you can eliminate those, maybe get some positive momentum and a good foundation, then you can slowly build that speed back up. You can slowly go fast again. What a concept. And then also, I think, look, man, nobody wants to hear it, but I really do believe Willie Taggart, when he says it, it's not necessarily the scheme or the philosophies. It's just a matter of techniques and fundamentals, a step here or an angle there or whatever the case may be, that's throwing things off just a little bit. Those are issues that, quite frankly, would be your issues no matter what kind of system you're running or no matter what play you were calling. So with that in mind, Willie Taggart did say this morning that the team pretty much spent the week going over fundamentals in practice and all those sort of baseline techniques and things that you need to be successful. And that's sort of what I think you have to lean on when times are tough. We'll see what the overall impact is, but I think the idea is to simplify things even more. I know that simple is kind of the name of the game over the last few weeks, but just sort of just hammer out a few basic things you can do those, and then build up from there.
On the defensive side, Harlan Barnett, fairly happy with what he's seen from the defense, but he's seen good first halves, he's seen good second halves, but not both in the same game. I think he's looking for the defense to have their first complete game of the season.
And this would be a good time for it. NIU comes in, they're not exactly dynamic on offense. They've had their struggles as well, and you're exactly right. Florida State struggled in the first half against Samford and was great in the second half. Was great, I thought, in this first half against Syracuse, and struggled in the second half, although there's some mitigating circumstances there due to the time of possession and also just the ungodly heat and the humidity in the Carrier Dome. So I'm willing to give them or grade them on a curve. But look, those guys weren't going to do that. They weren't really in the mood to make excuses. All they knew is that they played better in the first half than they did in the second, and the game got away from Florida State. So an opportunity, and I look at it and say, the pieces are there. You've had them, now it's just time to put them together.
If you're looking at NIU, you look no further than their defensive end, Sutton Smith. Led the nation in sacks last year. 6 foot, 225 pounds, yeah. Recruited running back, but the guy, all he does is get in the backfield and wreak havoc on opposing offenses.
Yeah, no, he's a really nice player, like you said. Doesn't necessarily jump out at you as the prototypical pass rusher, but there's been guys that at that size have been able to have success. Elvis Dumerville comes to mind. 14 sacks a year ago, 29.5 tackles for loss too, by the way. So he's not just a pass rushing specialist. And so, yeah, it's a reprieve from ACC for Florida State, but in terms of the quality of pass rush and defensive line, it's not going to be a reprieve at all. Those guys are going to have their hands full. I think he's the leader, but those guys are all, they sort of built them that way. They're not as big as you might see in the ACC or another Power 5 conference, but they're strong and they're quick. And I think if you're Northern Illinois, you kind of maximize your strength. And it's going to be a different type of challenge, I think, than what Florida State is used to so far. And hopefully they'll rise to the occasion.
There you have it, Seminole fans. It's the Noles and the Huskies, 3:30 on Saturday. Make sure you're inside Doak Campbell Stadium to support your Noles. If not, the game is on ESPNU for those out of town. And of course, we will have all your post-game reaction as Florida State looks for win number 2 on the season. For Tim, I'm Lane. Go Noles.